This is Dianne Andrews in Black and White. The issues you don't want to talk about. The arts and entertainment you need to know. And now here's your host, Dianne Andrews.
Thank you very much for being here in the audience today. Thank you out in TV land, and thank you YouTube for your great reception for Dianne Andrews in Black and White. I've been doing this about 6 months, and we're getting back response from you that the things we're bringing to you are the issues you want to know and talk about. But I'd like you to look at our social media sites and send us some things you'd like us to do in case we're missing the mark on something or something for our future shows. Today we're doing spirits, mediums, and miracles. Now, people say, ooh, this is not about voodoo, but somebody may explain to you what voodoo really means. I have 3 guests here with me today to talk about these spirits and miracles. One is Mrs. Fry. She is the station manager of our station manager. She's the wife of our station manager, Dr. Fry. Then I have Sean Brown from New Orleans, and then I have Dr. Joseph Tramontana, who's been with us before as a clinical psychologist, and he also works with hypnosis. We're going to start today talking about a story that when I overheard Mrs. Fry talking about it, I asked her to tell me more about it, and I thought it was such a beautiful story showing the belief in God, that if you may not be looking for what God is sending you, and if you don't pay attention, you may miss something good in your life. So tell us about it, Mrs. Fry.
Well, I was very heavily involved in my church. I lost my first husband all of a sudden on a Saturday afternoon after 38 years of marriage. I was very involved as an intercessor in my church and in prison ministry. Yes. And so I thought that part of my life, being a wife and all of that, was finished. I was very content with that because for once in my life I was me. I didn't have to answer to anybody.
You're a military person, is that correct? You lived up and down the East Coast.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. We have 2 beautiful children and 4 wonderful grandchildren. One night, it was in November.
What year was this?
2008.
Okay.
In November, I was sound asleep in my bed, and the Lord came to me, and he said, "Barbara," and I said, "Yes, God." He says, "I have a husband for you, and I'll bring him when the time is right."
Now, how long had your husband been gone?
Almost 4 years.
Almost 4 years.
And I said, "But Lord, I don't want another husband. I just want to be one with you and continue in my work and service for you." And he said, "But I have a better plan." And I said, "Okay." So I went back to sleep. And the next day I told all of my prayer partners, and I documented it in my Bible, told all of my prayer partners and my daughter, who I lived right next door to. And I said, "Kathy, this is..."
You knew that in case this did happen.
Exactly.
People would say,
exactly. I knew people were going to think I was crazy when I said it. But I felt like it was important enough to tell people that this had happened.
But you didn't want it to happen, really?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I was not interested in another husband.
Right.
And so about 2 weeks later, the Lord came to me again, and he said, "If I asked you what you wanted in a husband, what would you tell me?" I said, "Well, Lord, if I'm going to have a husband, I want a husband that has a heart for you, that I do, one that is a perfect gentleman, and one that treats me as a queen." I said, "And one that..."
Sounds like great demands, doesn't it? Yes, indeed. And we all want him.
Well, I have him, and nobody else can have him.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean him. Yeah, one like him.
So he said, "Okay." And I said, "You know, Lord, I'm really not interested." And he said, "But I have him, and I'll bring him when the time is right. This is the setting you will be in. These are the people that will be with you, and this is who will bring him."
Wow.
Didn't show me anything about him, didn't tell me anything about him.
But he told you who would bring him to you.
Told me who would bring him to me. And so my intercessor group had a Christmas dinner on December the 16th. And the room, when I walked in the room, it was decorated with pink and gold, which is what the Lord showed me, a long banquet table. And all of my prayer partners were with me, and that's who the Lord said would be with me.
Yeah.
And our pastor was supposed to bring his daughter, who was home for Christmas and was a missionary.
Oh, wow.
He was supposed to bring his daughter as our guest speaker.
Now, this was in Charleston?
Yes, Somerville, South Carolina, which
Okay.
is like a suburb of Charleston. So when our pastor walked in, he didn't have his daughter. He had Dr. Fry. And he's absolutely wonderful.
But what did you feel when this man walked in with your
I
pastor?
I knew that he was the one.
But did you feel then, okay, this is the guy, oh, wow? Or did you feel, oh, okay? You know, which way?
Well, it kind of progressed. As the meal went on through the night, everybody was pitching, you know, and saying, well, Dr. Fry, Barbara did this, and Barbara did that, and Barbara made
So
the
you
ham.
already told them, and they knew this was the man,
Right,
too. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. And I thought I was going to lose my left leg. My prayer leader just kept hitting me on the leg.
You know, I was waiting it under the table.
I said, okay, I know. So anyway,
What year was this?
This was in 2008.
This was in 8, okay.
Right. After the dinner, everybody was fixing the pastor a big plate, a big box of food, several plates. And so Dr. Fry kept talking about the ham, so I said, would you like the ham? Would you like some ham to take home with you? He said, no. He said, I'm going back to Nashville
Which
tomorrow.
is where he lived then.
Yes, which is where he came from.
A recent recipient of a liver
Yes, in
transplant
2008.
Okay, and his wife had passed.
Yes.
The same year?
In 2008,
Yeah.
yes.
So he had been through a lot
Yes,
that year. And
yes.
you had lost your husband 4 years previous.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Had God shown him anything, Dr. Fry? Did he?
He didn't. He doesn't say.
Oh, okay.
He just kind of, you know.
Yeah. Okay. But now we're talking, what year were you married?
We got married in 2009.
The year after. And they have logged over 500,000 miles, either on plane, bus, train, walking, motorcycles, you name it, they do it.
Yes,
Skiing and
indeed.
everything.
Yes,
they
indeed.
have traveled all over the world.
Yes.
And Mrs. Fry had not traveled outside the
No,
world before,
no,
right? First time
no.
you got a passport.
Yes.
So this is an amazing story of showing you that God wanted you to have the man that treated you like a queen.
Exactly.
And also would take you to places you'd never been
Exactly.
that you enjoy doing.
Gave me a life that I never
That's
dreamed
right.
of.
That's
Never
is that a
dreamed
beautiful
of.
story or what? I
blessing.
love when I heard her say, I said, you got to be on the show. I think this is a beautiful story. This is the beginning of 2015, and we want everybody to start off with the right attitude, whether it's about your weight, about your mind, about finding your purpose, and of course part of that is finding your partner, and that's what I'm looking for also. Okay, let's go over here to Shan Brown. Shan comes to us from New Orleans. Shan is a spiritual healer. She releases negative energy from people. She's originally from Florida, and when she was and she lived in Chicago for a moment.
Right.
When she was in high school, her grandfather died, I think, when you were 6, is what I read.
16.
16.
Yeah.
And you were very close to your grandfather,
Very
but
close.
you could always feel his presence, which made you feel better about
Right.
losing him.
Right.
But when you were in high school, I know one of your best friend's jewelry got stolen, you were telling me.
Right.
And you ended up finding the jewelry, and she thought you had stolen it. Give us a little detail on what had happened. You were
Okay.
part of the heist. is
Yeah,
what
she thought I was part of it. Well, what happened was a friend of mine that I had grown up with was adopted, and her real parents had left her several beautiful pieces of jewelry that she cherished, and she had them locked up somewhere in her apartment. And I don't know how this happened, but somebody had broken in. She lived in a very nice area. Somebody had broken in and stolen all her jewelry. And she had told me about it, and I felt really bad for her. So I lived near the beach, and about 3 months later, I'd had a dream, because I used to go to the beach a lot. I was a beach bunny. I used to go to the beach a lot, and I had a dream, and in the dream, I was told to go to a part of the beach that I had never been before. I was like in my early 20s, and this was mostly like older people or people with children, and an area that I had never really been to. So I don't know, I felt compelled to go there. I'd never been there before, but I went there. I set up my little chair so I could lounge and look at the waves and everything. And a friend of mine that I had met not a few months before had just happened to walk up to me and sit down and started talking to me. And he said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I don't know. I felt like this was a nice place to come." So as we sat there and chatted, there was a guy showed up, and we were right in front of the Sheraton Hotel on Fort Lauderdale Beach. and it was a car parker.
That's a nice place.
It's very nice. It was a young guy that parked the cars, and he came over and he had like a little case in his hand, and he knew the guy that I was talking to. So he said to him, they were talking for a few minutes, I wasn't even paying attention, and he said, "Does your lady friend like jewelry?" And he said, we didn't know each other that well, and he said, "I don't know, do you like jewelry?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, and then he talked to the guy for a second. The guy said, "Well, I'd like to show her some stuff that I have." So before he said a word, and this came out of my mouth, and I didn't even know how, why, or what, I said, "You have the ruby and diamond bracelet, you have the ruby ring, and you have the diamond necklace." And I said, "It belongs to my friend. You need to bring it to me right now, and I'm going to take it to her. I'm going to call the police." And I had no idea why I said that, where it came from. But the guy started shaking.
Was this the first time you had realized that you had that kind of, they call psychic ability, extrasensory perception?
Well,
was that the first time?
After my grandfather died, I used to feel him kind of pat me on the back when I would go to bed at night. I was a teenager, and I knew it was him because I could feel kind of a little something in the bed, and I feel someone patting me on the back, and I knew it was him. And then it increased from there. So I would have strange things happen like that. But yeah, so the girl she was so excited. I thought she would be so happy when I told her what happened. And I said, "Guess what? I got your jewelry, blah, blah, blah." And she said, how did you get it?" And I said, and I told her the story. Well, she didn't believe me. She thought I was part of the heist. So
yeah,
it took a long time before she, yes.
This was in the 70s, before people were, like the Long Island medium shows that come on, and people are realizing that people do have these kinds of powers.
I never wanted anybody to know that I did, because it scared me.
Right.
So, yeah.
And they would think you were probably a
crazy.
crackpot.
Yeah.
Do you get some of that now? Well, you're in New Orleans, so probably not as much.
Yeah, not as much as I did when I was in Metairie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Even a difference between Metairie and New Orleans.
Yeah.
Are there any other stories? How do you take negativity? Because we all live in a world where there's a lot of negativity. We were talking the other night, the movie that Denzel Washington made. Did we ever come up with what the name of that movie was? But no, it showed where he was getting on.
The guy in the electric chair became possessed or something, and
but it showed, don't look at people. You know how people say people can have an evil eye?
Yeah, if you look at them.
And that negativity can be transferred from one person to the other.
That's very true.
By just being around. It's almost like a virus is what this movie was showing with Denzel Washington. But and that's kind of what we're talking about now. Just living in this world, you come around negative energy.
Absolutely.
So how do I get it off? And then you have people, a lot of bad people. We talk about ISIS and Al-Qaeda and everything else, but there are a lot of bad people in the world in America.
Absolutely.
Also, can see you and not like you. So what do you do to relieve negative energy, if you can say that on television?
Okay. Well, what I do is there's a lot of verses in the Bible that can be used for that. There's a lot of herbal remedies and spiritual baths that I make, and different things that I use out of the Bible.
Shan, give us your number if somebody wants to get in contact with you.
It's area code 504-231-8035.
Let's say it again if they want to get in contact with you if they need help.
Okay, 504-231-8035.
And also, you have a website. I remember it was www.shanbrownnola.com.
It's shanbrownnola.com.
Okay, that's pretty easy to remember.
Yeah,
that one.
Okay.
So, is there any other story that would be really amazing for us? Because this is spirits, mediums, and miracles.
Well, I just over the years I've had so many different things happen, and I've traveled different places, and I've studied a lot of different religions. And I'm Catholic, but I have studied different spiritual practices.
Just real quickly, voodoo started off as a religion.
Yes.
In Africa, I think, right? And people have twisted it to be negative, in Haiti and things like that to be negative. Because if you tell anybody around the country you're from Louisiana, oh, you're New Orleans, you do voodoo. It's such, and they don't really understand what voodoo really is, the right way to use voodoo, correct?
Well, voodoo is actually a religion.
Right.
And it's a religion where they kind of synchronize the Catholic saints with their own gods. But the deal is, the things that you see with people sticking pins and dolls, that's black magic. That has nothing to do with voodoo. That's entirely something different.
That's just negativity, right? Now, Santa Maria? Santeria. Is that, that's Hispanic
well,
culture?
it's when the slaves came over from Africa and they couldn't practice their religions. They matched them up with the Catholic saints. So for every they'll call them orishas that they have. There's a Catholic saint that they pray to, and they kind of interchange a little bit. Although a lot of my priest probably wouldn't agree with that, but that's what people do. But yeah, that is basically, it became very Hispanic because a lot of these people moved to South Florida, and that's where I grew up.
Oh,
so.
yeah, right. And then you went to Chicago for a
Yeah.
while. Did you?
I was
knew
born
you
in
had
Chicago.
These power, so
Yes.
then you moved to Florida.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What we're going to do is take a little break, and we'll be right back, and we're going to give you a little demonstration between positive and negative energy with Dr. Joseph Tramontana and with Ms. Brown. We'll be right back. Thanks for coming back with us. The name of the movie, during the break, Shannon and I looked it up, and we found the name of the movie is Fallen with Denzel Washington, where he shows you about negative energy and how it can be transmitted just by looking at people or being in the same room with them like a virus. So you may want to look that movie up if you have some doubts. Not that it's supposed to be fiction, but a lot of people believe that that is how negative energy is transferred. We've got Dr. Joseph Montana back with us. He's going to explain hypnosis to us. And I wanted to ask him, do you believe in psychic ability? The
Yes.
extrasensory perception?
Yes, I do.
You do believe in that?
I didn't believe in it when I was in graduate school learning science. And, of course, then I became quite agnostic, not believing anything unless it was proven. As I got out of school and met astrologers and psychics, I realized science doesn't even know what questions to ask, much less answers. So now I believe in everything.
Since you have also a PhD in clinical psychology, and it's good to hear from a person like you who's open to and knowing that there are a lot of powers in the world. Like when I talk about healing with people, in fact, I'm going to do a show on Eastern versus Western medicine. I believe you use God, you use Western medicine, and you used acupuncture. I go to an acupuncturist, and you do everything you can, you know, to help you. And relieve negative energies out of the body and to heal your body. Right. So what are you going to do for us today dealing with that?
Well, one thing I wanted to comment, when you invited me on the show and I saw the title about miracles, I thought when I explain hypnosis to clients, I often spend time telling them what it's not, because there's so many misconceptions created by the stage hypnotist. And one of the things I tell them is not magic, it's not a miracle.
Right.
But oftentimes, after I work with a client, my colleagues would say, "Joe just worked another miracle."
Yeah.
Because it works.
Right.
You know, and people get better.
Yeah.
I want to.
Have you gotten a lot of people off drugs? We talked about that in one of the other shows you were on, Dr. Tramontana. Okay.
I do a lot of work with addictions. But what I want to do now is show you a little demonstration. Shan has volunteered. And I tell clients when I work with them, before I even do hypnosis, I'll tell them, this is not hypnosis, this is just about the power of the mind.
Now, is this going to take about a minute? We've got probably
About
a little
2
over a
minutes.
minute. Okay, let's get it, let's start.
So I need to move a little bit.
Yeah.
But you're
me to
good.
sit?
You're
Okay.
good. All right, Shan, when I tell you to put out this arm, I want you to put it out and make it rigid, and I'm going to try to push it down.
Okay.
But first I want you to think about something.
Okay.
I want you to think about some experience in your life that you're very proud of, some award or achievement or accomplishment, something you're very proud of, you'd be happy for everybody to know about. You wouldn't mind seeing it published in the newspaper.
Okay.
You don't have to tell us what it is. You have something? Put out that arm, keep that positive thought in mind, and you resist. Okay, pretty strong there. This time, I want you to think about the most negative, rotten, low-down thing you ever did in your life. Something you did and shouldn't have done or should have done and didn't do. You got that quick.
Yeah.
something you're embarrassed about you wouldn't want anybody to know about.
Okay.
Okay. Keep that thought in mind. Put out the arm. Resist.
And you were resisting just as before. That's amazing, isn't it? So what happens? The body surrenders when you think of negativity? Tell
One
us.
of the quotes that I use with clients is a quote that I read many years ago. Whether you think yourself a success or you think yourself a failure, in either case, you're correct. So, and the reason I use this, especially with addictions and other problems, a lot of the people I work with, they have lost their self-confidence that they can change. So part of the hypnotic work is to rebuild self-confidence, just because I've been this way for so long doesn't mean I can't change.
But you have both. You can see both sides. So that makes you probably one of the best people in the state, or in the country, I should say, with addictions, and because you have the clinical psychology degree, and then you have this part. And I was very lucky to get you on this show, and I thank you for being here, and for all of you all being here. I think the audience will find this show very, very good to start the year off with things they can do. And Dr. Trey Montana, they can get you how if someone needs to reach you?
My website is www.josephtramontana.com.
JosephTramontana, right?
Correct.
Okay. If you need him, he comes to Baton Rouge and in New Orleans. He has practice down there. So let's start this new year out with these miracles. We know anything is possible. Whatever we're looking for, let's think about it, let's want it, and let's go after it. And then let's put the positive energy in our brain. That's really most of it, right? A lot of things can happen with the way you think, even though you weren't looking for a husband. God sent you the husband. That's the miracle right there, isn't it?
That's right.
People looking for husbands and can't find them, and you know, you're in the bed sleeping, there her husband comes right into her almost. So thank you. We'll be right back with Dianne Andrews in Black and White. Come see this next episode of the empowerment session we're going to do right now with Marvin Anderson. Thank you. Come on. Thank you for coming back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White. As we're starting the year and we're talking about positive and negative energy, we want to lead right into a person with a solution for you. It's a 21-day empowerment. He's called the Empowerment Leader. My guest right now is Mr. Marvin Anderson, who is a former talk show host, and a talk show host now, I think, also a life coach and an author. He's got a lot of different irons in the fire, and he does them all very well. Tell me about the 21 days to changing your life. As you just saw the beginning of the show with the leaders and talking about how to lead and how to change your life and how to become more positive in your life using energy and using your mind.
Absolutely. The book, For Winners Only, is what it's titled, and it's a 21-day journey to discover the winner in you. I believe that innately we all have a winner on the inside of us. I believe that we all have potential, and I think potential is the blueprint of what we can become. And so if we just activate that potential by responding to the thing that the universe has called us to, then we will end up successful.
What you mean is your purpose. When you find your purpose, the universe and God, the spirit, whatever people call them.
Absolutely, absolutely. I believe, like I said, potential is the blueprint to what we can do or what we can become, but purpose is what we are to become.
Now, how do you help a person decide to know what they are to become if they don't know? Tell me how do you work with them finding out what their true purpose is?
Absolutely. I think that purposes and callings are authentic. I think they're not rehearsed. I don't think that they are, I don't think that they're prescribed. I think that it's what innately we are. I remember speaking with you one time and you said that you always wanted to do broadcasting. I think that you wanted to major in broadcasting, but you went another direction. But because the universe, a purpose, was drawing that from you, so you still ended up here back doing it. So where will it take you now? So I believe that the authentic force or the authentic desire that is on the inside of us responds to the universe. And I always tell my clients, if you say yes to the universe, it will respond back to you. So that thing that individuals, they can't shake it. Or it keeps nudging them, or they can't let it go, or they can't get away from it. It just kind of like follows them, and it keeps tapping them on the shoulder. Then that's where we start at. What is the thing that keeps following you? What is the thing that gives you life? What is the thing that gives you energy and motivation when you don't have it?
Do you think, even in my case, I majored in mathematics and I started to major in mass comm. Do you think that wasn't the right time is why it didn't happen? Or do you think this was the right time, or just circumstances happened that it didn't happen then?
I think, and as you're talking about in the segments before about positive energy, we talked about miracles, and then Ms. Fry talked about faith, right? And I think it's all in accordance to the measure of faith that you have. And so even at that time, because I think you're an incredible talk show host now, I think that if you at that moment would have had the intuition or the faith to step into that place, you would have been successful even then. But it has to do with your belief system and you believing in the potential and you believing in the trajectory and the path that you choose for your life. And so when I work with clients in coaching them and empowering them, I get them to believe it first. So many times we want people on the outside of us to believe it. We want people to support us, family, friends, and associates. And so what this book talks about is discovering the winner in you, because if you discover the winner, then it doesn't matter what anyone else outside of you thinks. It's because you've now been empowered to become what you feel you are.
And I'll project that, and other people will eventually see it, and if they don't, they don't, but you know who you
Absolutely.
are. And I noticed every day you have a way to write down a journal of that day as you give a person some tips for that day.
Right.
Is that correct?
It's called journaling your journey. And so what it does is after you read, because basically what it is, it's a coaching journal. And so basically I wrote it as if I was sitting in a session with an individual, speaking to them, and coaching them through the process. So each day I'm trying to get them to believe that they're a winner. And it takes 21 days to create a habit. And so after those 21 days, you should now have discovered the winner, and now you believe it and you project that, and everyone else to get on board.
Do you have any remedial students that don't get it in 21 days? Well, I was just making a joke. But we can reach Marvin and get to his book on the www.theempowermentleader.com.
Absolutely.
So thanks very much, Marvin, for being here. And Marvin and I are going to do some things together because we both believe in, I have a formula called S equals 3D plus 2P plus N, and purpose is one of the P's in that formula for success. You know, I'm a math major. I had to make it complicated, right? So we're going to do some things together, and you all go out and read the book. I like 21 days. I like the shortness of the book. I like that you get something out of it quickly. Welcome back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White. I think today has been a tremendous show with the guests that came in today. Talking about positivity, talking about how to change your life, using the 20-way plan of Mr. Anderson's in changing your life. Or who would have found a clinical psychologist who does hypnotic? I think it's just been a wonderful show, and I have done many, but this is one of my favorite for me doing it, that I learned a lot, and I felt good. I could feel the positive energy on the set with Mrs. Fry, with her testimony of how God sent her a husband without her even wanting one. So at the end of the day, and at the end of my shows, everyone knows, I say, let's shine a light, and everyone should just light a candle to eliminate the darkness out of your life, to eliminate the negativity out of your life, and let's make it all positive as we go through life. This is the beginning of a new year, and what I challenge everyone to do is to listen at these shows, to learn from these shows, and to change your life as you see should be fit from these shows and from the wonderful guests that are on Dianne Andrews in Black and White. So go out and shine a light, because I saw this as a little girl and I never forgot it. Thank you. Goodbye, and see you next week.